as far as the state's attorney discussion goes, I don't know what you guys have received, but from Judge Hovey's clerk sent me a letter saying that they had contacted the Attorney General, and the Attorney General is sending somebody out from their office to cover the court cases coming up on 14th of June. So as of right now, as far as court cases are concerned, the next upcoming date is covered. The Attorney General sending out an attorney. I'll open the floor to any other discussion here. What do you guys got?
Do we have a choice this fall? I mean, do we?
As far as?
I mean, for having him here as an attorney, I guess I would think we should move that we get him back on here and be done with this and put this stuff behind us and get moving ahead instead of delaying it, and trying to figure something else out. Yeah, if the people want to change here in this election and to appoint them, and then they vote that way. If they don't, then I guess Paul's going to be our guy unless some write-ins or somebody or whatever. But more likely to be our man. So I don't know. Just keep delaying it isn't going to help the problem none either. I don't think.
I guess as far as going back to the last meeting that was the 31st or whatever, as people that were here would recall, there was Pat made a motion to appoint him, and I seconded the motion to conversation. And I know, well, from what Roger said, he had a lot of calls that were people that were upset at what was going on. I had people that come see me, I had calls, had lots of stuff going on. But I had never said that I wasn't willing to appoint him, and I had some things that I wanted to say. I had some questions for him, and if I liked what I heard, I think I maybe could have got myself behind voting to appoint him. But before we could even get to that point, he left the meeting. And I go out and try and stop him, and the first thing he does when I go out and try to stop him, tell him, we haven't voted on this yet, come back to the meeting, let's all be adults here. He runs in, he goes, I'm out of here, I already know all this is going. I go, well, if you're leaving, then you gotta give up your keys. That's how the conversation went. You can probably hear it on the videotape. And he goes straight into Ian's office and tells Ian, that our sheriff, that he wants to file a report against me for unlawful restraint. And that behavior right there just ensured the fact that I don't think I can get behind appointing the man. Because he couldn't sit here and have a civil conversation and go through some of the concerns that I have as a commissioner. You know, maybe we could have worked something out, but the first thing you do is you run away and you go to the sheriff and try to file a false report. I don't see how we're gonna work together.
I feel the same way. I think it's very difficult to work with him. And I will do whatever's best for the county as far as, I won't work with him. I'm not going to try to work with him. I think I have tried. And if, and if it's better that if I can't work with them, if I need to step down, resign, I'll do that county first, whatever's best for the county. And if others can work with them, but I won't. I'm not going to nominate him. I'm not going to make a motion, we hire him back. I'm not going to second a motion. If somebody else wants to do it, they're up to them. And I think he's got to sit down and like he did rush out of here on that meeting last week, and got to be able to sit down and discuss things, and it just I don't see that it'll work with him.
Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jeff.
Well, I have an opinion I wanted to give here about the possible appointment of Paul Murphy as state's attorney. And obviously, there's going to be an election in November, and since I guess he's the only one running, there's pretty much a foregone conclusion that if only one person votes for him and not enough write-in votes occur, then he will be the new state's attorney, or be the state's attorney once again. My opinion is the fact that I know you have to make a decision on who to put in until the time that the election occurs. And to be frank with you, his record is clearly, like I say, in my opinion, his record clearly shows that he is uniquely not qualified to be state's attorney. And I'll give you some examples here. Let's start with the shop issue, which is interesting because we had the shop, the issue of the shop was here earlier with Mr. Sherman. And that was the best example, I think, of his failed approach to handling county business. And that is that, and had it not been for me obtaining a public records request to find out what occurred inside that executive session that was no longer is out in the open. And in that executive session, when it came down to the issue of whether or not Mr. Hoggle was intending to sue the county in regards to the fact that he was the lowest bidder, I still remember in that, and I played it. That was the last time that Paul Murphy was the state's attorney, other than recently when he showed up. And in that meeting, it was very clear that he advocated that the commission violate the law, violate the century code, and just go ahead and vote to ignore the pending lawsuit, ignore the fact that the century code was being violated in regards to how the bid process worked. He specifically, you were there, both of you were there, he advocated the position that go ahead and break the law, because breaking the law would be cheaper than going back and remedying the mistakes, and that insurance would cover the whole amount. And to me, that's analogous to a person that has a house that's on fire. And instead of actually taking remedial steps, or just any steps, to stop the fire, deciding that we have insurance, let's just let it go ahead and let it burn, okay? And his advice was completely wrong in the fact of advising the commission to break the law. And I think we all understand that when you're commissioners, you take an oath of office. And that oath isn't just an oath, it's an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the state of North Dakota, and to uphold every one of those laws that's listed over in that thing called the Century Code. And how can you possibly be a qualified state's attorney when you give advice openly? Now, of course, he didn't do it openly because it was in this executive session. And if I remember correctly, he was quite perturbed when I was able to obtain a copy of it. Well,
just a second, Ted, though, that he gave that advice also in July, the first regular meeting that I attended to, he advised that we go ahead with it. So it wasn't just in the executive session either.
Well, that's true, but that was when we were facing a lawsuit, the county was facing a lawsuit, and he said it would be cheaper to go ahead and break the law, and that the county, if the county was sued, it would be covered by insurance. And his understanding of how insurance worked apparently was misguided as well, or was incorrect, because the county paid $15,000 out that was unnecessary. So my question is, who's going to be responsible for the $15,000? And I still wonder why it is that the commission, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions upon you, but if you look at the first power that a commission has, the first power is to sue and defend on behalf of the county. The county's out $15,000. And I want to know who's going to be responsible for it. Should it be the commissioner that voted for it, or the commissioners that voted for it? Or should it be the person that gave them that advice? Now, there is a thing called errors and omissions insurance. And I'm pretty positive Paul had it back then. And here we're sitting here, talking about, $1,000 here, $1,000 here. Before me is a group of people that are, I think, are very frugal. But $15,000 is out of the coffer here. $15,000 was cut as a check to somebody. And it was needless. The whole process was bad, was flawed from the beginning. And it was flawed because the unfortunate thing is this commission relied upon somebody that never bothered or didn't understand or was too disinterested in the process to find out what process needed to be taken and what steps needed to be taken to have a bid process that was error-free. And believe me, I do these projects. I've done these courthouse projects dealing with counties and cities and school districts. I've done projects that are remodel, rebuild, and so on and so forth. So I'm quite familiar with this. And every time, I've never seen a process go like this one did. This was incredible. Fortunately, we had some good people here in the county, in particular Mr. Schroeder, who worked with the county and got the job done. And it's a beautiful looking shop. So I guess ultimately it went through okay. But that's still, we're still back to the fact that the $15,000 is gone. But the other thing is that how many times over a period of his tenure as state's attorney did the county commission ask him for a legal opinion about something of which he never got back to? I'll give you an example. I'm still waiting for, I looked it up, and it was back in April of 2014, and we were talking about salaries, which brought, that's the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because it was interesting, because in April of 2014, this is over 2 years ago, the auditor was granted roughly a $35,000 salary as auditor, and that she was also granted another $15,000 as a salary for being in charge of emergency services or something, okay? And the Century Code was very, very explicit. It says specifically that that's the one job, that's the one office that cannot have multiple employment opportunities within the county. In other words, Casey can't go to Ian and say, gee, Ian, I need a few extra bucks. You think you could hire me on to answer the phones up here? You know, and oh, okay, well, we'll take down the budget. Well, she's the auditor. And they put that safeguard in there. And this was asked over and over again by Paul to get a determination of whether or not the former auditor could collect double dip, get two different salaries from the county, when by law, by statute, she was only allowed to get one. When did that answer ever come in?
Don't think it did.
No, it didn't. Even though they're very clear and plain, the Century Code is very plain and very clear. In the Century Code, under auditor cannot receive more than one income. So that's another example. But over and over again, he's failed to provide guidance. This thing with the shop is the best example. And agreeably, he's going to be the state's attorney come September. Come January, whatever it is, when they take over. And he's going to win the office again. You know, I know we need a state's attorney, but I understand that the state's attorney could be appointed by what? The Attorney General. And you know, when he left the office, when he resigned, the first thing he did to make Foster County look really, really good is he called up every news media that would listen to him and talk about how bad this commission was. First he said, oh, you know, the reason why I played on my phone when I was in here is because of the fact that it was as boring watching these meetings where it was as boring as watching paint dry. Then later on, when he was before the TV camera, and they asked him why he resigned, he said, oh, well, it's because it's so disruptive. It's like a zoo in there. Well, which one is it? Is it so boring that you can watching paint dry would be more entertaining? Or is it a zoo? And why did he want to do that? And then he took the files that belong to the state of North Dakota, to the people of the state of North Dakota, and I have pictures of it. They were out there for hours. And I know that Ian said that he was watching it from in here, but just that act alone was disrespectful to everything that he's supposed to stand for. And so far as I'm concerned, any amount of time that keeps Paul Murphy from serving as state's attorney is a plus for the county. Because this man, in my opinion, has nothing but a failed history. He's had a failed history and failed history of providing legal advice to this county, and I think showing due diligence towards his job. So that's my opinion. I respectfully request that
give him a rest until you absolutely have to have him in here. And who knows, maybe people will vote for the appointed state's attorney position as to having this happen, because I don't see how it's ever gonna be better, because if he's in office, there's always gonna be a conflict, and it gives him an opportunity to pick and choose. Now, I personally, I guess maybe I kind of have a grudge against it, because as a member of the press, because we have that website, carringtonnews.com, which also has the Facebook. As a member of the press, I don't appreciate being threatened by Mr. Murphy. And I still remember the same words in an email that he sent me about the fact that he didn't like the way we reported on a story. Law enforcement, meaning him, can be your friend or your enemy. Those words still resonate. And I think somebody that irresponsible to make that type of statement, to be that abusive with his power and office, needs to be kept from the office as long as possible. So I have nothing more to say. Thanks, gentlemen, for allowing me to do that. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for your opinion, Ted.
Thank you.